Inspired by Muller's success, other multinational food and dairy companies were lining up to move into Britain.
We observed that Müller started to have some success and that they had targeted their products to the adults and especially to women. And we thought, because we knew on the continent, we knew that the kids were a target group, and we saw an opportunity there at being first in fromage frais.
The multinationals reached areas of the market with untapped potential. Fromage frais targeted British children with sweet, sweet goodness. Domestic companies quickly lost their grip on key founding brands. Ski was taken over by the largest food company in the world, Swiss behemoth Nestlé, and Shape was snapped up by French dairy giant Danone.
Yogurt as a market developed in continental European countries well ahead of the UK, and therefore there have been very much larger dairy companies in France, in Germany, than we managed to actually create in the UK.
So suddenly the British dairy industry that's been such a part of our lives is actually operating in a completely different world. It's operating in a globalised commodity world, and it can't hang on.
Today, 2/3 of the UK yogurt industry is owned by foreign companies. The aisle, like so much of the supermarket, has become a battleground for global business and a vivid symbol of our age of plenty.
You can just cruise this trolley down the aisles, picking up anything you feel like picking up, anything that just seems to speak to you in some way. Are you a slimmer? Do you want a light yoghurt? Are you someone who's looking for a sweet treat? A busy mum who's trying to buy packed lunches for your kids and you need some yoghurts to put in those? And it's a blank canvas, it can be anything.
You can have big pots, you can have small pots, you can have children's ones, you can have all kinds of added ingredients and added fruits and added flavours, you can have different textures. There's really no limit, only the limit of our imagination and our wishes, but most of them seem to be satisfied, and yet tomorrow somebody will come up with an idea that none of us has thought of.
Back in Japan, the supermarkets are stocked with Yakult. It is the product that introduced the world to functional food. In this little bottle was the advent of a new era. It would change our relationship with what we eat forever.
Yakult kind of arrived out of nowhere. I mean, nobody, to my knowledge, was asking for a little one-shot yoghurt drink with probiotics. Most people didn't even know what probiotics were. But it was part of a whole new category of ingredient, which have ended up being called functional foods.
Yakult says it draws on nearly 100 years of scientific research into the health benefits of bacteria that naturally occur in yogurt. The industry calls this probiotics. In the 1930s, the founder of Yakult, Dr. Shirota, isolated particular strands of bacteria that he believed to be beneficial to digestion. He added them to fermented milk and recommended that it be drunk every day. When the little bottle reached UK shores in 1996, this man was hired by Yakult to introduce Britain to a new way of thinking about food.
We had to explain to people why they should want to neck a bottle of 6.5 billion bacteria. Now, as far as the British consumer was concerned, bacteria were like germs, so instead of reaching for a bottle of Yakult at that point, they preferred to reach for a bottle of Domestos and kill all known dirt germs dead. So it was a challenge.
With the help of a £3 million marketing campaign, within 3 years we were buying over 100,000 bottles a day. But for some, it was difficult to identify exactly what the benefits were.
As a consumer, it's very hard to work out what exactly it was going to be curing. Was it some problem of the gut? Was it just some sort of all-purpose longevity? And it's extraordinary, really, what Yakult did in persuading people that they needed this thing in their lives. They needed some daily dose of something that was going to answer all of these little health niggles that we all have, without the consumer maybe ever being able to put their finger quite on what it was doing for them.
Which came first, the gut problems or the industry solution to them? Well, very hard to say, but there's no doubt they were creating demand. I don't think most people were wandering around thinking, oh my God, I've got terrible gut problems, what can I do about this? Or insofar as they were aware that it was probably because their diets weren't very good.
You know, if you're eating a diet of real food, if you're getting fruits and vegetables and whole grains, you don't need these functional foods. You're getting plenty of all the nutrients, all the antioxidants you need if you diversify your diet. We're drawn to these because we're looking for the quick fix.
Consumers would not come back to probiotic drinks if they didn't feel and sense some benefit. So there is no point in paying a premium for a product every day when you don't gain a benefit from them. And so a lot of consumers will say, this really doesn't make a difference to my life, to the comfort I feel in my life, and the enjoyment I have.
30 years earlier, we hardly ate yogurt. Now, in little bottles, it was spearheading a revolution. Food was becoming our medicine, and Yakult was the first dose, but not the last. In the global food industry, Yakult is small fry. But its big success didn't go unnoticed by the industry's titans. Enter Danone. Danone is the largest fresh dairy company in the world. They sell over 5 million tons of dairy worldwide for nearly £8 billion a year. As well as Activia and Shape, they own several water brands, including Evian and Volvic, and baby food Cow and Gate. With this might, Danone was about to take functional food into the mainstream.
Danone was probably the only company in the whole of Europe to see the potential of this wacky daily dose bottle. They were big enough internationally to see how successful Yakult had made it. So they quickly came out with their own alternative to it, which was called Actimel.
L'origine de Danone, c'est les pharmacies, c'est les ferments vivants. C'est un produit sophistiqué, avec différentes souches, avec différents bénéfices, qui a une vraie action sur la santé, avec énormément de recherche derrière. Donc c'est pour nous le cœur du réacteur en termes de positionnement santé.
Danone claimed that its yogurt drink Actimel improved the immune system. The goal was to conquer the UK probiotic market. The mission would be run with military precision.
What we did is to create as we called it, an acceleration unit around Actimel. And there were people from marketing, from sales, from R&D, specifically focused on Actimel and trying to put Actimel into the UK market.
It wasn't long before they accelerated past Yakult. In just 3 years, Danone grew the market from a tiny 3 million to 62 million pounds. Today, over half of UK households regularly buy yogurt drinks, and Actimel has taken 50% of the market, giving Danone annual sales of £115 million. The UK was turning into a treasure island for the French yogurtiers.
Actimel grew by over 350% in terms of its volume, which was a phenomenal. I mean, it was one of the fastest growing grocery brands in the UK across all categories.
Actimel is a big success in the UK. Actimel has been launched in '97 in the UK and has really built its credibility, the quality of the relation with the consumers, was able to be sold in very different outlets for kids, for adults, for any type of target group. So I think it's a very important drink in the UK, and everybody loves Actimel, and we love the UK.
Along the way, the UK had fallen for functional food. But why all this extraordinary effort and spend to secure a market? The answer lies in the profit margin. Probiotics and functional foods are among the most profit-generating of all food brands.
Profit margin of the Danone Group is something like 15%. This is the profit of Danone. Actimel is just a little bit higher than that, but very slightly higher than that.
You can charge more and more the higher up the value chain you move. And that's the holy grail for manufacturers. Of course, the value is shareholder value, the added value. It's not nutritional value. But the attraction to the industry is that you're moving from, say, no margin to roughly 9% margin to perhaps 15 to 17% margin on the most marketed things.
Wrapped up in the probiotic success story was a fundamental change in our relationship with food and what it means to us. Probiotics had introduced us to the idea of a daily dose of food, something that we would previously have associated with taking medicine.
The whole daily dose concept was very alien when it first arrived in Europe in the 1990s, but the big advantage it has is that convenience factor. You don't have to change the way you live, you can just have this little shot and get on with your day. And from the retailer's point of view, these concepts are very attractive because they're all incremental purchases. They don't replace anything else in the shopping basket. They're things that people buy in addition to their normal shop.
A daily dose is really a perfect combination for the consumer and the company. The consumer senses the functionality through daily use, and if the benefit is there, then it's reflected in continuing daily use. For the company, there is a bond of loyalty that can't be equalled in any other way. So it's a perfect win-win situation for company and consumer.
The extraordinary success of functional food was fueled by our growing confusion about what was good for us.
Eating too much red and processed meat increases the chances of getting bowel.
The beneficial effects of red wine on the heart have long been known.
The benefits of taking vitamin pills may be vastly overrated.
Researchers have given eggs the all clear, insisting they don't risk clogging up your arteries.
But I think that the danger is of all these sort of health stories and other that people read is that it's just too much to take in. It becomes very confusing. And again, it creates the idea that nutrition is a deeply, deeply complex thing that I can never understand. And therefore, I'd be better to let companies that do know, with laboratories and so on, to tell me what to eat.
I think people are always wanting a simple solution. We would love to believe that we could eat and drink whatever we liked in whatever quantities. And if necessary, just take a tablet, or better still, a nice tasting food product, and that would resolve all the problems.
The baby boomers generation was beginning to realise that their lifespan was finite and they wanted to ensure that it was going to be as healthy as possible. So there was a lot of interest in a scientific solution.
Functional foods tapped into a growing suspicion that something was wrong. Whatever it was, people wanted a cure. The food companies were able to turn our confusion to their advantage. The entire industry followed in yogurt's slipstream. A functional feeding frenzy followed. Health claims abounded and largely went unchallenged. The already confused and nervous consumer was now utterly bewildered. Did any of these techno fixes actually work?
Functional food implies that it has some kind of biological function above and beyond the usual. All food is functional. It fills you up, it gives you nutrition, it supplies needs you have. So I don't know why an apple is not a functional food. A functional food has more marketing, I think, behind it than apple.
I think it's a lot of nonsense, actually. But if the marketeers can get away with it and convince people that these products are good for them, are good for their soul and good for their body, then good luck to them.
Consumers are not mugs. They won't buy something unless it's actually delivering a benefit they can feel. The consumer is now in the driving seat. And if they have a health interest, if it's digestive health or heart health, they will go and find out for them what they could be consuming. They buy the products and try them, and then they stick with the one that they find actually seems to work for them, which gives them some pleasure in their lives as well.
Part of the answer to the credibility of functional food can be found in Finland and its native pine trees. The Finnish trees produce a substance called plant stanol ester, which reduces cholesterol in the blood. Meanwhile, the Finnish people have surprisingly high levels of cholesterol. It's a condition strongly connected to heart disease. It wasn't long before someone spotted an opportunity. A food manufacturer added the ingredient to margarine. The result was called Benecol.
It was realised by the investment community and by some people in the food industry that this was a true innovation. It was something that was clinically proven to lower your cholesterol. Elevated cholesterol is a marker for your risk of heart disease and therefore death. So here was something which could actually be formulated into foods legally and safely with no side effects whatsoever and could tackle a major public health issue.
It was quickly launched around the world, arriving in the UK in 1999. Benecol took its place amongst a multitude of health claims. For a decade, life was good for functional foods, but no less confusing for consumers. But the good times couldn't last forever. A new sheriff appeared in town. For the functional foods business, it was to be high noon. From 2006, health claims on food had to be scrutinized by regulators at the European Food Safety Authority, EFSA.
The standard of evidence which is required in order to make a health claim has been set really quite high. And that's very important so that consumers really can have confidence that if a food carries a health claim, that that claim is fully justified.
Europe has now introduced a health claim system which is the most restrictive in the world. And while it's a good thing that health claims should be approved before they're used in the marketplace, but what's happened is that we now have a health claim system that is more demanding than pharmaceuticals.
Thousands of functional foods were put in the dock. Benecol was one of the few winners and could continue making its claim. It was a massive boost for the brand. But for other products making health claims, the new rules were a potential disaster.
The industry is now in uproar and has been actually really trying to have its cake and eat it, because now they're saying you're trying to judge us by the standards of the drug industry. That's inappropriate. We're talking about food. But the whole point of functional foods is it blurs that line between drugs and food, medicine and food, but they don't want the kind of scrutiny of testing that the drug companies have.
The claims made by many functional foods are still being scrutinized by the regulator. Most have been found wanting. None of the major probiotic claims examined so far has been given approval, including Yakult. Danone, maker of Actimel, has withdrawn its evidence from the process.
Danone withdrew the dossier for a very simple reason, which is the fact that we wanted to understand the rules. We wanted to understand, to play the game, understanding what type of dossiers we had to present. Because it is the devil is in the detail. In the case of Actimel, you don't have a very clear measurement of what is immunity. So it's difficult to prove that it has an effect.
While negotiations between regulators and business continue, probiotic drinks remain on sale. But Danone has quickly, if subtly, changed its marketing approach to get around the obstacle. Not using claims, but a simple question instead. Have you had your Actimel today?
It's not just about health claim. It's not so important for us. If you look at all the reasons why people are eating Actimel and Activia, health does not come as the first reason when they speak, because they speak first about taste. Huh?
If they don't get the approval for the health claims, which they are worried they may not, they've still got all that marketing in our consciousness. Think of ski. It sold itself as originally the full of fitness food. People still remember that, 40 years on.
Over the past 12 months, companies like Danone and others have softened their communications. But actually, sales have continued to increase. So what companies are trying to do is to make sure the product gives a benefit you can feel, even if the EU doesn't allow them to tell you what that benefit is.
Large multinationals like Danone appear to have prevented the regulators from standing between them and their customers. But when it comes to further market innovation, these rules could prove to be a serious obstacle to growth.
What the health claims regulation in its current state will mean is that health claims will disappear from brands like Actimel and Activia, but people will continue to buy them. But if you're trying to come into the market as a new player, you've got a problem, because you can't begin to communicate what your benefit is. So the irony is that the health claims regime will just reinforce the position of the existing brands, and it will prevent anything new or innovative coming in.
Foods that make health claims are just the tip of a huge iceberg. The functional food revolution reflects widespread fundamental changes to consumer awareness. The market for conventional healthy food is estimated to be worth over £400 billion worldwide. It's a huge prize, and chasing it are some surprising players, including PepsiCo, better known for its sweet, fizzy drinks. PepsiCo UK has pledged to improve the nutritional value of its product portfolio.
The bulk of our profit, the bulk of our growth is going to come from healthier products by the end of this decade. And so within that, we've made what we believe are some pretty aggressive and challenging pledges.
The consumer today is really looking for more healthy, more nutritious choices in what they do, whether that's the fact that they're having to have quicker meals because the pace of life has got faster. They want quicker solutions to eating a nutritious diet.
PepsiCo has been buying up nutrition-led brands like Tropicana and Quaker Oats. It's been reformulating its Walker's Crisps to make them healthier, but it has held on to its sugary, fizzy drinks. It has divided its portfolio between products that it calls good for you, better for you, and fun for you.
I think that's just a misnomer to believe there's good and bad food. I think it's absolutely right to have a bag of crisps with your lunch, but it's not right to have that all the time at all meals. There's a balance between what the energy that you take in and the energy that you expend. So there's nothing wrong with a fizzy drink. I think there'll always be a need for treats in the diet. What also we need to do is balance the nutritional component, and that's exactly what we're spending our money on and trying to develop.
You can't any longer get away with saying there's no such thing as bad food. We all know we need to cut down on certain types of foods. So you see them diversifying. PepsiCo's buying fruit juices, much healthier products, and you see them trying to reformulate. So you get the healthier crisp. Almost a misnomer, really. I mean, I'd rather have the unhealthy crisp with the pleasure, but just have it less.
PepsiCo is a very good example of a big international company that is adapting to extra consumer demands and adapting its products to meet what society is asking companies to produce as well.
PepsiCo's move to healthier foods is mirrored by nearly all the multinational food companies. From Danone to Nestlé, they all know that to survive in the modern food industry, they must reposition themselves, less as processed food companies, more as health and wellness providers.
So what it means when we talked about Nestlé becoming a nutrition, health and wellness company is that we are changing the mindset of our people, and we are demanding from them that when they discuss, when they develop new products, that the nutrition aspect becomes a critical consideration in this development of new products. And that all of our products have to be checked, that they have a nutritional advantage vis-à-vis their competitive product.
I think some Greek guy some time ago was saying, Hippocrates was his name, was saying health will come from food. Food will be your first medicine. And it's quite logical. I think that the more science will get advanced, the more we will discover that your nutrition is changing your life.